So from the previous lecture, we know in order to become the man in the middle, as shown in this diagram, and exploit the ARP protocol and redirect the flow of packets so that it flows through our computer, we need to send ARP responses to the router and to the target computer. When we send it to the target computer, we pretend to be the router and we tell the router that we are the target computer. So in this lecture, we're going to learn how to create an ARP response using Python and send it to the target so that we can poison their ARP table, which will put us in the middle of the connection. So as you might already guess, we're going to be using Scapy. Now I've already created a new project called ARP Spoof, and I'm going to import Scapy exactly the same way that we did it in the previous program. So we're just going to do import scapy.all as Scapy. And then we're going to create our ARP packet. So we're going to say packet is equals to scapy.arp. And between the two brackets, we're going to set the fields or the options for this packet. Now, like I showed you before, when you're not sure about the fields that you can set, we can just go to our Python interpreter. So just in terminal, we type Python, and then we're going to import Scapy in here the same way that we import it in scripts. So we're going to say import scapy.all as Scapy. And now to get a list of all the fields that we can set for an ARP packet, we can just say scapy.ls, which is short for list, and between the two brackets we're gonna say scapy.arp. So we're basically saying we want to list all the fields that we can set for scapy.arp class, which is the class that we're gonna use to create the packet. So if I hit enter now, you'll see I get a list of all the fields that I can set. So let me first of all exit out of this. And the first thing that I want to set is the OP. Now this is set to 1 by default, and basically this means by default when you create an ARP packet, you're going to be creating an ARP request. But as explained in the previous lecture, we need to create an ARP response, not a request. So we need to set the value of this to 2. So I'm going to go up to my script, and in here I'm going to set the OP to 2. I'm going to put a comma, and the next option that I want to set is the PDST, which is the IP field, which is the IP of the target computer. So in this example, I'm going to be targeting this Windows machine, which is connected to the same network as the Kali machine. Therefore, I need to use its IP in the IP field. Now, in order to get its IP, we can actually use the network scanner that we created in the previous section. So I'm already in the directory where the network scanner is stored. So all I need to do is just do Python networkscanner.py and set the target to my subnet over 24 to scan the whole network for the connected clients. Now, as you can see, I get a list of all the connected clients. And I actually know that the Windows machine is this one right here. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to set the PDST to this IP, and I'm going to make sure that this is a string. So I'm going to put it between 2 quotation marks. The next thing that I need to set is the target MAC address. So the MAC address of the target computer. Now this can be set using the HWDST, which is the MAC field. And again, I have it in here using the program that we created in the previous lecture. So I'm going to say HWDST is equal to, and put it between quotation marks as well. So it's a string. And finally, we're going to set the source that this packet is coming from. So we're actually forging this. This is going to be false information because this packet is coming from my own computer, but I'm going to tell the target computer that this is coming from the router. So I'm going to set the source field, and if we go down and look for the source field, you'll see it right here. We're going to set that to the IP of the router. Now we have the IP of the router here, or you can run route n to get it. And as you can see, it's right here, 10021. So we're gonna set the PSRC to the IP of the router, which is 10.0.2.1. And that's it, our packet is done. So let's go over this one more time. So first of all, we are creating an ARP packet here using skp.arp, and we're storing the value or the contents of this packet in a variable called packet. Now we're setting the fields of this packet in a way so that it can be used to redirect the flow of packets through our computer. So what we're doing in this particular line is we're basically sending a packet to the victim saying, I have the router's MAC address. We're doing this by first of all setting the OP field to 2 so that this will be sent as an ARP response, not a request. We're setting the destination IP, which is the IP of the target Windows machine. We're setting the hardware destination, which again is the MAC address of the target machine. And finally, we're setting the source IP to the IP of the router. So whenever this packet is sent and received by the target computer, they'll see that it's coming from the MAC address of the Kali machine, but they'll think this is sent by this IP, which is the router's IP. And therefore, in its ARP table, it'll associate this IP, which is the router IP, with the MAC address of the Kali machine of the attacker. And this will place the attacker in the middle of the connection. So every time that the target computer wants to send anything to the router, it'll use the MAC address that's associated with the router's IP, and that MAC address is going to be the Kali machine's MAC address. Now this packet is ready, and if we send it, it'll actually fool the target into thinking that we are the router. In the next lecture, I'll show you how to do that, and we'll also have a closer look on the contents of this packet so that we have a better understanding on how this will work.